Hey, my name is Willis. I have been trying to make a creative business happen for about as long as I can remember. I think it was one of my first things that I really wanted to do was to make something with my art or creative practice. I was exploring like web design, basic HTML programming, and got into Blender, learned Photoshop, all sort of self-study practices in the hope that I could turn them into a thriving business. And here I am probably 15 years later, and that is still my number one mission. It's like one of the only huge life projects that I really care about. Definitely one of the most important things in my life. And something that, gets me excited to get up and try something new in the morning. But this video is going to just kind of reflect on all of what I've learned and talk a little bit about the life of building a business as a creative person who's getting into entrepreneurship. Some people get into entrepreneurship to just make money, and I think that those people are free from some of the struggle that is the creative person's approach to entrepreneurship, because when creative people approach something like entrepreneurship or building a business, they really need to see themselves in it. They need to make sure that it aligns super well with who they are. And so this video is going to try and talk about that a little bit. I think one of the hardest things that a creative person will ever do, if they even choose to take this path, is to try to make it a sustainable self-employment income. I think that operating a business is really difficult in general, being the owner of a restaurant or starting even a laundromat has a bunch of challenges. Service industry stuff. Building a business and operating it for a long time is really hard. We can't forget about the difficult task that we're trying to accomplish here. In this video, I'm just trying to talk about a couple of the essential pieces for running a creative business. This is for solopreneurs looking to activate a service business with some skills they have, or even someone who's just wondering what it takes to practically launch a startup with their friends and try to make progress with it. What does it take to move forward with a creative business or business in general? So I hope this provides you a good framework for kind of understanding a couple of the essential pieces. And I'm going to explore some more things like this on this channel. So if you like it, First thing that I want to touch on briefly is the balance between creativity and business. Now, I don't mean work-life balance. That's kind of a different thing. The balance between creativity and business is more like the decisions that you make when coming up with a solution or a problem or a product. This balances your desire to be an artist who paints certain kind of way because that's your favorite way of creating, versus potentially meeting a market demand as an artist and offering people products, whatever it is that they want. You can imagine two extremes. In one case, there's an artist who is just all, they're on their own and they're doing what they want. And it doesn't matter whether people like it or not, they're going to keep creating for them. And on the other side, you have someone who's wants to do art and feels passionate about art, but every time they try and show up to do it, they're just ripping off a popular trend or trying to, and I don't mean that in a negative way at all, but or they're trying to productize their artwork in a way that's maybe not authentic to them. They're making cheap t-shirts that are trendy and fun. Another example might be a video production team or individual who's selling themselves as a jack of all trades video producer, even though what they want to create is documentaries, or they want create feature-length films, and so they're not being super intentional about their ultimate, like the direction for their project. And so when we're thinking about this balance, I think it's important to keep that word in mind. I think balance is critical to consider when you're thinking about your creativity and the business. Because as a creative entrepreneur or creative person or an artist, if it becomes all business, you're not going to want to do it. And that might be okay if your goal is to sell it. You can always build up a business to profitability and find someone who's going to want to buy it, especially if you haven't spoken your truth into that business. But as an artist or creative person, if you're speaking your truth into those businesses, it's really important that you give yourself balance with the demands, both on you and on your creativity, on your energy, all those things. In my own experience, I've found this balance pop up mostly as a procrastination challenge. Like in my mind, I want to create beautiful artwork, and when I'm creating music or something like that, I'm kind of exploring this part of it that I don't think is super marketable, and it's like what I want, and I think that that's important, and I've balanced that by also trying to be creative in the way that I come up with products and business solutions. So, for example, I run a video production company, and I've tried to approach that both from an artistic side. How do we make sure that our art is coming through? How do we make sure that we're having a real impact on the end result of this product that we're giving to our clients? But also really making sure that we're not just like creating these 10-minute long story exploration things that at the end of the day the audience of our client won't give a shit about. It's really important that we're offering solutions to our clients that they actually want and that they will have a meaningful result from. So this is kind of where we balance our enthusiasm for creating art, doing weird stuff, but also making sure that we're not missing the mark when it comes to actually delivering a result to a client. Talking about money isn't everyone's favorite thing. I'm really stoked that certain people have made it more popular, like Alex Hormozi and some of the influencers you might know today have done a better job of talking about money in a practical way. And now I'm not saying by like following his 3 steps or whatever you're gonna be like him, but talking about how to make money is important. And as a creative entrepreneur, you want to learn about some of that stuff because as having a business, like if you just want to practice a hobby on your own, you don't need to make any money probably. But if you're trying to make a business for it, you do need to think about how you can make money, how you can deliver better results to make more money, and how you can achieve some sort of scale with your project. Now, whether that's scale in terms of big creative projects that have a lot of scope to them, require a lot of your creative input, or whether it's like achieving some sort of scale with being able to service a large number of clients or deliver a large number of results. Artists are achieving scale through Spotify and music distribution platforms because they can publish to millions of people. Visual artists are achieving scale through productizing some of their artworks, whether that's like through a t-shirt or something like that, rather than just selling their one painting. They're taking that and they're applying it to a bunch of different other categories. And I think this is really important when it comes to thinking about building a strong financial model. When it comes to actually managing the finances, there's just a couple things that I've learned over the years after launching 2 LLCs trying to stabilize those businesses with cash flow and manage them in terms of keeping track of what's coming in, going out, invoicing, taxes, all these things are really important when it comes to running and operating a successful and sustainable business. And it's important that we as artists or creatives or entrepreneurs have good strategies for doing this. One thing that I found really helpful was getting a accounting software all connected to my banks and cards and things like that, so that I can go do the spending activity, do the selling activity that I need to, and I can trust that those things are being collected so that I can go process them later. So the basic format of that looks like popping into software. I use Wave Apps personally. I find this helpful because it's free and I like the tools. One of the main alternatives to this is QuickBooks, and there's a monthly subscription for this, but it is sort of the gold standard for accounting software. In my experience, this isn't a better tool. I don't know at what point you would need to make a decision for one or the other. Wave Apps has been really great for me, and I can even manage payroll to any employees I have. I can do invoicing all within there. And they even have a bank feature, which I haven't used, but it's a pretty robust accounting software, and it's totally free unless you need some of their premium features like the payroll stuff. So I can't stress enough how important it is to even start to look at those things before it becomes a problem. Because if you go 3 years running your business and you never do your taxes and whatnot, and you've made a bunch of money, you might find that you owe a bit or a lot, and that's tough. You don't want some sort of tax problem to upset your ability to operate. But these things aren't super complex, and even through Wave Apps they have training tools and stuff like that. So if you have questions, you can get a hold of their support staff and find out some answers. As an artist too, it can be difficult to communicate the value of your efforts to someone, especially and even when it comes to invoicing. You can have the fanciest invoicing software, but at the end of the day it comes down to your ability to communicate what you're doing to the client. And so having a nice clean invoice with your logo and all the information on it can really help communicate confidence to that client. And critical is that you're thinking about not like, I put 3 hours into this project, so I'm going to invoice them for 3 hours of this, but what value did you provide? And not what value did you give yourself or your business, but what value did you provide the client? You want to give them an invoice and a representation of your work that they find valuable, that they think makes sense based on both what you're charging for the project and what you're delivering at the end of the day. So you want them to look at your finished product that they've got and the invoice, and it all makes sense. You want them to see that invoice not as like ooh, this is what I wish I would have gotten, or there's so much in here but I don't see it reflected in my product, or it's so simple, I don't know what actually went into producing this. You want that to be a little bit of a pairing, Think about that as the balance kind of between your business and your art too. You've got your art as being the result, and the business part as being like, hey, this is how we as a business contextualize this artwork. So that's just a little bit on how to think about getting started with managing some financials and some quick tools that can help you do that. Like I mentioned, Wave Apps is free, has invoicing software, and is pretty easy to work with. You can even get some training on the site if you want to get started and make sure everything's all set up correctly. All right, now we're talking about marketing and promotion. This has been one of the areas that I think was most difficult for me to figure out, and it's been a long road. I think I've been both successful in this part and really struggled. And I'll try to outline that a little bit and provide you some useful strategies for how to think about this for your business. Marketing gets a bad rap, I think, but really at its core, it's like it's thinking about and executing on education. It's like there's a difference between what the customer knows and what they need to know to be able to purchase your product or your artwork and understand its value or be excited about its value. It's very rare that someone will just glance at your painting on the wall and know that they need to have it. But certainly sometimes that happens. I guess especially in artwork that might be likely. I think what a lot of people get wrong about marketing is they think it has to be a certain kind of way. Like they think you need to be advertising or that you need to have a really focused brand voice and consistently using that sales messaging. But that's not really it. It's more about like how you as a business or creator relate to your audience. It's how you communicate with them. It can be done through like Instagram posting where you just got a caption, and the way that you write that caption is your marketing. And it can be simple or complex, but it's really the way that you communicate with your audience. One of the things that I think was both really awesome in my projects and a huge challenge was I started content marketing for my video production company. So we launched a weekly podcast where we would interview local creators and artists and entrepreneurs, things like that. And for a long time, I was really sort of upset with our marketing strategy. I was like, we don't have a marketing strategy. Like we're not being effective at this. It's not working well. We're not driving our business metrics, basically. But I think I was wrong about that. I think that we did a great job. I think we chose to market our business in a way that was indirect rather than like direct marketing where you're trying to like meet someone at the moment they're ready to buy. We were kind of indirect marketing and giving people a chance to discover our brand without being sold immediately. We let people, watch a couple podcasts of ours before they even knew we offered video production solutions and live streaming solutions. And I don't know if we would have had the results we've had now if we didn't do it that way. Like if we just used more traditional marketing concepts and ideas. I think that at the end of the day, it's about communicating your vision to your customers and your audience. What kind of a journey are you wanting to take them on? What are you wanting to explore with them? I think these things can inform an effective marketing strategy, especially for an artist and or a creator or an entrepreneur looking to share their product and message. When it comes to effective marketing and promotion, I am a big believer in the Gary Vee frameworks around creating content. I think that there's a huge opportunity, and it's mostly free. And that opportunity is to create compelling content on social media. Now in this, I would gravitate towards growth platforms, and those are constantly shifting, so I won't speak too much about a specific platform and how to execute on it, but I would think more about like the way that you and your friends and the culture at large are discovering artists and discovering music and discovering products. Like how are people being exposed to these things? And if you or how are influencers growing? Like if remember early TikTok, there was just these like people were just growing. Like people were going from 0 to a couple million followers. And this wasn't uncommon. And instead of being like, wow, that's a killer growth platform, I'm gonna start buying those lottery tickets. I'm gonna start making content, and I'm gonna see what I can do with my business on that platform. A lot of people were fearful and I guess at the end of the day, didn't really grasp the opportunity or take it seriously enough to get the result. As you're going about your day, consuming content, podcasts, whatnot, think about how that marketing is working. You're probably seeing it because of some marketing effort. Now, whether that's just them choosing to put out a bunch of organic videos, that's them marketing their personality and sharing their who they are with the world. And if it's a brand that's doing a sponsored ad, think about the copy that they're using, why they're like, did they choose to put it in front of you, or are you just like, random misplaced audience? I don't know. It's interesting to start contextualizing marketing with practical examples, because I think when we talk about marketing sort of informally or as in like a strategy level, it gets really complicated for people. People don't understand how they themselves can participate in the marketing, but really it's like you want to make it a huge part of running your business. By running your business, ideally that is your marketing. Like Gary V's example of document instead of create. If you can document your process as a business owner, or even as an employee at a business, you can really do a lot to market your products and your experience and yourself to your audience. I think that in this too, creatives and artists have a lot to learn from brands and influencers, because when you're as an artist thinking about some of those focused marketing strategies and efforts feels gross. You're like, I don't know if that's how I want to do this, but consistency is key, and you have to get good at communicating what it is that you do to your audience. And you don't have to do that in video, you don't have to do it in audio, you don't have to do it in written word, but I mean, maybe you need to do it in one of those, because if you're just creating beautiful art in your basement and you're never sharing it, and you never effectively communicate the value of your work or your impact on your work, without an effective marketing strategy and execution on that strategy, it'll be impossible to reach a sustainable scale for your business and communicate clearly the value you offer. And that doesn't mean every day you need to be posting your sales copy or communicating the value of your brush strokes, but it does mean that you need to think about the way people perceive you and see if there's any misalignment between the way you perceive your own business or artist project and the way that you're perceived online. Because if there's a disconnect there, that's where there's a real opportunity to improve your marketing strategy and narrow that gap a little bit. All right, we're getting close to the end here, so we're going to touch on time management and productivity. As an entrepreneur, artist, or business owner, time management and staying productive is one of the most difficult parts of the job. I think that those paths open us up to overwhelm, stress, a lot of responsibility, and sort of never-ending hours. Instead of showing up to your job, clocking in, clocking out, leaving, you're sort of endlessly exposed to your own business challenges. It's difficult to stop the flow of communication or to turn off the need to market yourself, even to turn off the need to create, or to create time to create. I think that it can be difficult too if you get too much into the business product side. You can forget about the part that made you a good artist. You can lose that part where you're creating compelling works, where you're spending time exploring your artistry, where you're learning new skills. So when I think about time management and productivity, it comes back to this question of both why. I think asking yourself why you're doing something can be really, really helpful and illuminating at times, because as humans, we sort of go about our day, and you can find yourself in patterns or ways of being that clearly aren't serving you. So asking yourself why on occasion can sort of help illuminate whether or not that might be a good use of your time or energy or not. When it comes to prioritizing tasks and delegating and ultimately deciding what to do, there's a couple strategies that I try to use. As an artist and business owner, I find that there's a never-ending to-do list. There's literally infinite things that you can or could or should do, and it's sometimes difficult to tell the difference between a can do or could do and a need to do. And if you're constantly subbing your could do's for your need to do's, it'll be really difficult to make progress. So hopefully that provides some helpful strategies for a little bit of prioritizing and thinking about productivity. I think that, especially as an artist or creative, it can be difficult to tell when something's having a meaningful impact on the outcome. Like, it's pretty clear if you're writing a killer song that that's a good use of your time as an artist. But when you're thinking about some of the business pieces and you're setting up a possible income stream, or you're investing into like a membership site or a newsletter, it can be a little bit difficult to measure the exact impact of those activities. So that's where I think having like sort of a more comprehensive plan or like exploration of all the possible things that you could do, just a little bit of like, is this critical now? Is this critical later? Like, when should I add this piece? There's a bunch of frameworks for understanding this, like an Eisenhower matrix with like urgent and important, and urgent but not important, and important but not urgent, and neither important or urgent. You can kind of develop ways of auditing a potential task or an opportunity for whether or not it's a good thing to add to your calendar that day. One of the other things I would keep in mind when it comes to time management and productivity is that momentum is really important. If you're constantly finding yourself sucked into social media holes or Netflix or whatnot, you're like, it can be really difficult to break out of that and then build momentum. But the key is you'll hear people say, like, make your bed in the morning, and something like that, as simple as that, can even help you start to build momentum. Completing a super simple task and seeing the result cleanly laid out for you. Some of those little tricks can just get you off on the right foot and help you have a more productive day. So there's plenty of YouTube content about stuff like that. One other time management and productivity tool that I've found to be useful for me is a project management software. Right now, I think the two best ones that I could recommend for this, especially as an artist or an entrepreneur, would be ClickUp and Notion. I use ClickUp myself, and this helps me stay on top of deadlines. All the projects that I'm involved in are captured there. A lot of the ideas I have are captured there, so I can kind of continue working on them or just hold them for later if it's not the right time. My client list is there, and I manage my leads and outreach all through those platforms. So it can be a really great way to take your business out of your head and put it into something that you can see and work on, and have greater likelihood that you won't like forget something or miss an important deadline. I think we've covered a lot in this video, but I hope that it provided some helpful frameworks and ways of thinking about your creative project as an artist or musician, or even your entrepreneurial endeavors as someone looking to launch a product, start a shop, open retail, start a restaurant. I don't think I spoke about. I don't think I'm going to help you start a restaurant. You might want to find somebody else. But some of those other things, like I spent a lot of time exploring these ideas and researching frameworks for thinking about problems, and just a lot of trial and error in my own companies. And I hope this provided you just something of value. I hope that you learned a thing or two and you can apply that to your business this week and make some progress. These things aren't built overnight, and what's important is to continue investing in yourself and your creative projects. This will be one of the hardest things that you do if you're successful, and even if you're not, it'll this is hard. Starting, running, and making sustainable some sort of business, especially one that relies on your creativity and your artistry and your individual skill sets, that's really hard. And you can see, look out into the world and what percentage of people have this handled. Like, what percentage of people have actually figured this out and managed to make it work? That's not very high. And I don't say that to be discouraging. I think it's important to be realistic, and to know that if you're wanting to embark on something like this, that you work hard on it, that you work hard on yourself, get your mind right, get your body right, make sure that you're focusing on things that have a decent likelihood of being a good investment of your time and energy. You've got to protect those things because no one will do it for you. If you found this valuable, I would invite you to share your own experiences and projects down in the comments. I'm definitely going to look through them, and I'd love to see what you've got going on. I'd love to, get inspired and excited about what's going on out there. So I'll see you in the next one.